Oh, good evening, everybody. I'm Jared Smith with James Brierton on location in Exton, Pennsylvania. As we're talking about Ida, the remnants of Ida moving through the Carolinas yesterday and today are causing significant flash flooding, significant tornadoes in parts of New Jersey. A very significant tornado. Looks like it came out of the plains. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But James, we'll start with you. So you're out in it right now. I can see the rain, the misting on your glasses here. So tell us what you see and tell us about kind of your day, just in general.
Jared, this is the calmest Ida has been today and in the last few days. It is making its long trip from New Orleans across portions of the southeast and mid-Atlantic, now making its way through the northeast, and it's going to be history soon. But until then, it still has to work its way through portions of the northeast. I'm in Westchester County, Pennsylvania, which is just to the west of Philadelphia, a region that saw its own unique severe weather outbreak, with tornado emergency being issued earlier today for places like Trenton, New Jersey, where flash flood emergencies are still up for portions of northern New Jersey, and a severe thunderstorm warning with the tornado possible tag in effect right now for the New York City metro area.
Now, we have a tornado warning now.
For where?
For New York City.
Okay, so this is a storm that, of course, its headline being its Category 4 landfall near New Orleans, Louisiana Gulf Coast earlier in the week, but its impact still being felt now days later as remnants. And we'll talk more about what I experienced, but all of that playing second fiddle to the fact that this storm is maintaining its historical nature from that Gulf Coast now through the eastern seaboard. What can you tell us, Jared, about that tornado warning for New York City?
Yep. So this tornado warning, it looks like it just came out for New York City. In fact, I don't even. Okay, so yeah, it's barely even coming through over here. Give me just a second. To. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna queue up the radar behind me, and we'll get a good look at this here. So let me switch to the radar. It's a mess. This is a mess tonight. Just a huge mess in the Northeast. But the area that we're concerned about right now is over Harlem. And this is not the best look, so let's go to the single site Doppler. And yeah, you can see that we have a tornado vortex signature showing up right around US 9. Here's your rotational signature. That's pretty good. It's blurring. Why is this blurring out? I don't know why that. Oh, you know what? Let's turn that off. There we go.
There we go.
I was in portrait mode. Whoops. Not the time to look pretty.
So this is Fort Lee, New Jersey, right?
Yep. Fort Lee, New Jersey is just north of Manhattan. The Weather Service warning has it. So here's the warning: tornado warning for South Central Westchester County and southeastern New York, Bronx County and southeastern New York, New York County, Manhattan in southeastern New York until 9:30. At 9:05, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located over Harlem or over Mott Haven, moving northeast at 25 miles per hour. Before we were going on, James and I were watching this. We were starting to see this kind of generate and on the terminal Doppler, and sure enough, it has gotten going here. The radar indicated rotation right now looks like it's about ready to cross. It's going to cross I-95 here in a second. If it hasn't already done so.
Hey, Jared, just for context, that's the George Washington Bridge.
Okay, George Washington, thank you.
That's what I'm here for.
James, our resident New Yorker, it helps us with these sorts of things, and it's a cool party trick. And so it's going over the George Washington Bridge. Wow, that's really impressive. So radar indicated tornado. What we'll do is we'll look at correlation coefficient. So far, no sign of any debris being lofted, but that is certainly something they're going to watch closely. This is a pretty well correlated. Let's go to the rotation product. That'll clean things up. That's pretty good. That's
yeah. Jared, I'm going to hop off a second and be back with you. You keep taking this.
Yeah, that is not normal for the New York area. That's just not normal at all. And And so again, if you are going down I mean, a lot of you are not doing this right now, and I'm kind of, I'm kind of used to doing tornado coverage with y'all. But again, this is looks like this is going to get close to Bronxville, New Rochelle, Pelham Manor here, in fairly short order. And let me see if I can't try to cycle through the frames here, but I'm having a little bit of trouble with that. But suffice to say that it has been an unusual situation today up in the New York metro area, where James is. He saw a lot of flash flooding, where and where James came from. We're going to talk to James in a little bit more detail here once he gets out of the rain. Talk about that. So again, this is a pretty impressive circulation by any measure, and it's definitely not one that they see up in this neck of the woods. And again, this is all Ida. Scroll back out here, and you can see I've got the isobars up, and I've got the surface winds up, and these thick green lines are flash flood emergencies, not flash flood warnings. Those are the highest tier flash flood emergencies. The Weather Prediction Center had a high risk of flooding here today, and that so far appears to be verifying based on the numerous flash flood emergencies now that stretch really from Delaware through the Philly metro. Let's see. I think this is a considerable tag. I want to say that's a considerable tag, actually. Yeah, so that's a considerable tag. So the flash flood emergencies come from north of Philadelphia now all the way up into Bridgeport, New York, which is rather impressive. James, I'm going to bring you back in real quick. What you got?
So I was just making a personal call. As you know, lots of people on the move tonight, and we're trying to navigate some folks through a lot of this weather, which hopefully most people are just heeding the warning and staying put. Here in Westchester, Pennsylvania, where I am, we're still getting rain, and we've been getting rain here for hours, which is why we have those flash flood emergencies and flash flood warnings. Now, you may be asking yourself, why are Jared and James on the Carolina Weather Group talking about the New York City, the Philadelphia metro area? And it's because we're continuing to cover Ida here on our regular Wednesday night show. Of course, it came ashore Category 4 on the Gulf Coast of Louisiana this past weekend. We're starting to get some glimmers of good news out of that region. Some of the first reports of power being restored there today. But of course, lots of folks still without power, and the devastation along the Gulf Coast still being accounted for. Now, I traveled today from Charlotte to here. I got off the train in Wilmington, Delaware, and then made my way into Pennsylvania. And I actually was riding Amtrak, and the crew of the Crescent train is based out of New Orleans. And I was talking to some of those gentlemen who tell me that luckily their families are okay. They're still in the dark. Amtrak has been originating that New Orleans to New York train the last couple of days out of Atlanta, and those guys are hoping to get home soon. What's also funny, Jared, as I'm standing out here in my hotel, is we have some crew buses from Amtrak that have just pulled up. And because I think a lot of this all comes back down to the impact of this storm. When I checked into my hotel here earlier at the crossroads of a couple of these eastern Pennsylvania highways, people were coming off the highways to ask if there were any rooms that were still available because of the flooding from this storm that was occurring. People weren't able to go anywhere. It was for the last several hours that this county road outside of here was closed as the local fire resources were trying to conduct multiple water rescues here in Chester County, Pennsylvania, asking for boats from neighboring jurisdictions. You can see that the rain is continuing to come down, and it's still gusty at times. But now, as we are continuing to watch this rain move through, beginning to get the back end of it here in Pennsylvania, we're going to see tomorrow in daylight the impacts that Ida still had days after landfall, not even as an official tropical system anymore. Again, forcing the National Weather Service to declare things like flash flood emergencies and tornado warnings for the Philadelphia metropolitan area. And now at this 9 o'clock hour on this Wednesday, moving into places like New York City, Jared, where you're watching that tornado warning for New York City. It's an incredible storm.
Yeah, this is certainly very, very, very. It's unusual, and the tornado threat up there is not over by by any long shot. We have I'm going to go back to. I'm going to get the watches configured up here.
Yeah, I can tell you that the watch for like Long Island, for instance, which watches. I think the furthest watch east goes until 1 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes sense. I'm just gonna zoom out here real quick and just give you all a general idea of what this looks like. I'm gonna take myself full, and I'm gonna take the radar full here. And yeah, so here's your tornado watch. I mean, this is a standard tornado watch still in effect. Along the east side here, still plenty of inflow, still plenty of wind shear. We were watching that earlier, and there's still plenty to hang your hat on with that.
And I'll tell you, Jared, I'm worried about this. Just looking at the power of this storm continuing at this hour, it's nighttime, and this storm is still continuing to impress us.
Yeah, and James, as we know, nighttime tornadoes are not exactly. That's not something that we generally like to do here at all, much less in places that don't do nighttime tornadoes.
And I'll tell you, for anyone who knows me, or anyone who's about to know me, I have family and friends on Long Island. That's where I grew up, and I called my sister before. And we don't have a NOAA weather radio in the house that we grew up in. I think I'm about to change that, because it is needed at least a couple times a year. But I just reviewed with her the steps to make sure that her iPhone was prepared to receive the wireless emergency alerts. You go into settings, you go into notifications, and you need to make sure those government alerts are turned on. And I told her, don't put your phone on silent tonight, keep it on, because if you get a tornado warning, I want that phone to wake you up. I want you to go into the basement. This is a part of the country where there are basements. And then I want you to call me so I can tell you what the hell's going on. But I made that call tonight, and that's one of the keys. We talk about multiple ways to get warnings, especially at night. Emergency, NOAA weather radios, TV, local weather apps. Sometimes it just comes down to someone calling you and waking you up or telling you what's going on, or in this case, keeping that open line of communication. You
can be that source of weather information for somebody you love. If you hear the warning and you know somebody is there, calling them, that is a great thing to do. That's something that we're always going to encourage people to do in our neck of the woods. James, in your neck of the woods, obviously, as you have family up there.
It's very unusual. This is very unusual for this part of the country.
Yeah.
It's not that it never happens, but it is few and far between.
Yeah, this is not normal. I mean, I think that there's no other way to slice this. This is just not a normal thing that we're used to in this part of the world. So, James, let's get you back inside. Let's get you starting to dry off.
Sounds like a lovely idea.
And we'll go back and we'll reset here a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit more about where Ida has been. Ida's remnants did move up through Georgia and western North Carolina. If there's good news to report there, is that we did not have a repeat of the flooding from Fred. That was certainly a concern that we were watching very closely as Ida's track evolved here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the storm reports. Let me just getting that out real quick. I'm going to share my screen here. We'll talk a little bit about the storm reports that have come through, and I'm going to go ahead and take that in here, and you can see, these are Weather Service storm reports from various offices in the Carolinas, mostly along western North Carolina. You can see there's a pretty good damage swath here, a decent line of thunderstorms along the leading edge of Ida, move northward through western South Carolina and western North Carolina down to a bunch of trees. From Augusta all the way up through Greenville, Spartanburg, into near Asheville and into the Pisgah National Forest. So again, Ida was certainly felt here, but not to this degree, thank goodness. This is the same area that only a couple weeks ago was devastated by Hurricane Fred. Well, not the remnants of Fred, I should say. So certainly, we definitely caught a break here in the Carolinas from this storm. So where is Ida now? And again, this is where this is just absolutely, as we've been talking about, this is absolutely nuts. This is a tornado vortex signature in New York City, where they make all the picante sauce that's not Pace. No, this is not an endorsement. but you get the picture. And James, I this is rather something. I'm gonna go ahead and get the wider view back up here, and you can see. You see, I got the ISO bar. See where my mouse is. This is the main low, the remnants of Ida, and it's drawing up moisture in from the Atlantic. You still have a lot of wind shear in the northeast quadrant of this storm. That's where we're finding the greatest tornado risk today. And you can see these really bold outlines here. This is a flash flood emergency.
Can you push that in a little bit, Jared?
Yeah. Let me get this zoomed in a little bit. And James, if you want to kind of take the wheel here a little bit too.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I heard you talking about as I was walking back in was the storm damage that Ida did produce in the Carolinas. And Tim Pounds, who produces our Carolina panelist playlist series on Spotify, he lives in that Augusta area, and he told me those storms, they were quick. They were moving fast when they went those trees.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Ida, I mean, as we know, Ida stayed wound up for a very long time. It just became an extratropical system not too long ago.
And you know what's fascinating about that title? And we were just talking about this with Fred. These titles, yes, we have to categorize these storms, but we get so hung up, we as in human beings get so hung up on which category this thing is. Think about what Fred did to Hayward County as a depression. Think about what Ida is doing to the New York City, Philadelphia metro areas tonight as an extratropical remnant mess.
Right. Attached to a front. Exactly. Right. No, that's exactly right. And again, we had a huge mess in the Northeast, huge mess in, Philadelphia, New York. I mean, this is not small potatoes population here. This is not small potatoes infrastructure.
As a guy who grew up on Long Island, whose biggest annual weather concern was typically blizzards, maybe tropical every few years. What I felt when I got to this hotel tonight was the same feeling I had as a kid when a blizzard would keep us indoors for 24, 36, 48 hours. It was cool. Okay, I'm not going anywhere. What am I eating? I wasn't going to venture out for food. The road was closed. I wasn't going to ask for delivery. And I just went down to the hotel lobby and I got whatever was in the lobby bistro and microwaved it. And it was just kind of like rummaging. And now I'm just me. I'm fine. I'm safe. Wet for being outside. My day was long traveling through these storms, but I mean, that's the situation that a lot of people found themselves in some version of what is this and what are we doing there?
And James, as I remember correctly, you found yourself actually in some tornado warning polygons as you were traveling today. And
I was not happy about this.
Yeah, you did not see any, which is good news.
Yes, correct.
So that is helpful, but still doesn't make for a relaxing travel by any stretch of the imagination.
No. So I was riding Amtrak, as I mentioned earlier in the show, from Charlotte to Wilmington, Delaware, to make my way here into Eastern Pennsylvania. And we were doing okay. I was watching the different polygons. And it wasn't until we left Baltimore. We were sitting in the Baltimore Union Station, and I looked at radar scope, and I went, we're going east. This tornado-warned circulation is heading north. This is the same one, mind you, that had produced damage in Annapolis, outside the DC area. And I thought, oh, this is going to be like playing chicken. And so our train left, and I thought, surely Amtrak is watching this, right? It's not just like some guy playing meteorologist in the back of the train. And before I knew it, we were straddling two warnings of different circulations. And I mean, we came within 4.5 miles of the circulation in this warned cell. And I fired off an angry tweet to Amtrak. Last I checked, they didn't answer. And I was just like, I'm sorry, is this a part of your standard operating procedure to go through tornado warned cells? Because to you and I and everyone else watching the show, what's the thing they always say in tornado warnings? Seek shelter. Not cross your fingers and hope you can outrun it.
Yeah, that usually doesn't work out very well.
No, I know. What choices do I have when we're on the track going 80 miles an hour? And there's no safe place on a train.
No, there certainly isn't. And hopefully they knew something you didn't.
That their train was going faster? I don't
know. But
I'll tell you though, as we were heading north and we just got out of the polygon, the southbound train passed us, and I thought, I'm sorry for those folks.
Oh yeah, no.
We had just gotten out of it, and now they're going back into it playing chicken again.
Yeah. I mean, and you hit, some blinding rain, even, in the second leg of your trip today. And again, that comes back to some of the issues that we're seeing in the Northeast this evening.
Yeah, let me talk about travel here for a second.
Yeah.
First of all, don't. Second of all, a couple of things that I was reminded of today that are super helpful. So when you're on Amtrak or you're on a highway and you're going rural areas, bring that NOAA weather radio with you. It was key for me on the train, where having 3G or 4G cellular was nice when it worked. But then I could still tune in NOAA weather radio. I could still tune in FM radio. Even if I was essentially powerless on what happened to me and where we were going, I still like to have known. And then the same thing in the car ride. I had a NOAA weather radio in the car. I had a Jared Smith on the line. Not everyone has a Jared Smith on the line, but I do. Again, it goes back to that communicating for friends and loved ones of, hey, what's happening near me? Can you help me out? Or calling them and telling them is kind of crucial.
Yeah.
Have we talked about? I know we talked about the tornado warning and the tornado emergency for New Jersey, but those pictures right before nightfall coming out of the Trenton area. I mean, you could have told me it was Norman, Oklahoma, and I would have believed you.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything that we're cleared to use. But easy Twitter search.
I'll tell you right now,
us.
the NBC Philadelphia station was in a neighborhood. It had to be minutes after impact.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, it looked like something out of Tornado Alley.
I mean, Annapolis. I saw pictures of Annapolis earlier. Looked trashed. I mean, it was not good. We do have. We are getting questions from Ithaca 7080. There's a tornado where. And so again, let's revisit this real quick, and I'll take myself full, and we will go to the radar, which is right over here. And so again, I'm gonna take the radar data off for a second so we can see where the tornado warning is. So here's your tornado warning. This includes this includes Harlem. This gets into Bronxville, New Rochelle. Pelham Manor, it gets into basically, gets into the Bronx. Yonkers is just outside of it. Now, we don't have a confirmed tornado, and that's good news. And again, when we're looking at the velocity here, it's not quite as defined as it was when we got started. Put on the rotation here. This rotation is looking a little more elongated. This wind shear is starting to look a little more elongated than it was before. I'll step back a couple frames. When this thing was really starting to ramp up.
I don't want to speak for them, but this warning only goes 2 more minutes, and they've already issued a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag. I think they may be getting ready to transition this. Yep.
I definitely agree, and that is a good. That if you hang around Weather Service long enough, that's what they do. Is that if it's a good telegraph of what they're thinking. It does, make it important for folks who are, who are northeast of this thing, White Plains, Stamford.
Oh, you still got to be at the ready. You still have a severe thunderstorm warning coming your way.
Yeah,
damage. Wind is wind.
Yeah, wind is wind, and you're gonna be running into issues here, for at least the next several hours. Tornado watch is out until 1 a.m. Out there, and this threat moves into this is not just in New York. Again, this is moving into parts of Connecticut, Rhode Island. You do not get in on the fun. I'm not sure, and I'm sure you're not missing any of it, but it certainly gets into Connecticut here as well. So we've got a little more time with this severe weather for the next few hours up in the Northeast. So again, Ida has made its presence felt, all the way from New Orleans, Louisiana, all the way up to New York City.
So much about Ida, Jared, is incredible. I mean, it made landfall as a Cat 4 72 hours after its first advisory. And now another 72 hours later, we're talking about, I'm looking at it now, we're still getting in reports of water rescues in New Jersey from Ida.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, flash flood emergencies everywhere, considerable flash flooding. And these are issued by the Weather Service. This is Weather Service language here. This is probably the strongest language for flooding that they've ever used.
And I'm so glad you hit on that, because I just realized we've been saying tornado emergency, flash flood emergency, but I'm not sure we defined that is worse than a flash flood warning, and it is used sparingly to say, jokers, we're not kidding.
Yeah. Want to say, let me I'm right now I'm in the process of just taking all the polygons down. The tornado warning has expired, so that is some good news. But again, that has been replaced by a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag further north and east. What you got?
You may have said this already, and I apologize, but those flash flood emergencies we're talking about now include New York City in that.
I was just getting there. Yeah, I was.
You and I are on the same wavelength.
Yeah, I was just getting there. Yeah, there is now a flash flood emergency for New York City. This is a flash flood. I mean, here's a text from Upton. This is a flash flood emergency for New York City Metro. This is a particularly dangerous situation. Seek higher ground now. At 9:28 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Doppler radar indicated heavy rain across the warned area. Between 2 and 3.5 inches of rain have fallen. The expected rainfall rate is 3 to 5 inches in 1 hour.
Okay, I'm going to say something, and it's going to sound stupid, but I want to point out the obvious. Manhattan is an island. It is surrounded by water.
Yep.
So when they say seek higher ground,
Empire State Building?
I mean, you got plenty of buildings to choose from.
That's some good news.
And I'm not saying the whole island is flat. There are hills. But I'm just wanted to convey to people, we're talking about an island that is at sea level.
Yeah, it's not
a relatively thick island.
No, it isn't. I'm going to put on something else that I've got the so here is the radar estimated storm totals. This is from the multi-radar, multi-sensor system that the National Weather Service runs. And let's just go through this. So first of all, let me take myself full real quick so you all can see the scale. I think that will be helpful. Although you can't see the scale because I so much
tell from the brightness of these colors, but please do tell us what they are.
Yeah, I mean, so let's talk about that. 10 inches. Let's just zoom in here.
10 inches and what's the duration of this?
This is over the last 12 hours.
12 hours? I thought you were going to say like 72.
No, this is over the last 12 hours. This huge swath of very heavy rain that set up roughly from, looks like Oxford, Pennsylvania through Westchester.
Familiar.
Yeah, I mean, let's Phoenixville, Doylestown, Lambertville. Looks like the bullseye here. The 10-inch bullseye is right around Lambertville, Flemington here. Stockton, Pennsylvania. And this goes up. Actually, no. Correction. That's not Pennsylvania. That's New Jersey at that point. I apologize. Again, I don't get up there very often.
I mean, this is the Carolina Weather Group currently doing severe weather coverage for the New York Metro. So.
Exactly right. Yeah, we're not exactly good at this. So this is not exactly our typical territory, and we appreciate you hanging around with us for this. But you can see from this swath here, the swath is now taking aim at New York City. Just give you a general idea of where we're at with this.
Jared, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to let all of our fellow weather nerds know that we were talking about those pictures out of NBC Philadelphia earlier of the tornado damage in the Trenton, New Jersey area. They're currently live on Weather Channel. So if anyone who's not in the Philadelphia area wanted to see, the Weather Channel has now moved into that same neighborhood.
There you go. Yeah. And if you haven't seen anything tonight, trust me, you're going to see it tomorrow. It's going to be everywhere tomorrow. This is it's rare, but it's increasingly not.
Yeah, and between the impacts and the rapid intensification, every one of these storms is starting to feel like deja vu.
I mean, and Ida was probably one of the more extreme examples of rapid intensification. I mean, I know Michael revving up to a Cat 5 in no time, but we at least had a few days with Michael. Ida, we had 72 hours at best.
Yeah.
And kudos to the modelers. My goodness, they nailed it. The
we are
modelers
really good. We, as in, again, a society, human beings, but National Hurricane Center gets the credit. They are really good with the path. And I think everyone knows that there's still work to be done when it comes to intensity.
But I will also say this is that they did a very good job of forecasting explicitly rapid intensification. If you looked at the if you read the discussions, and really they were very aggressive about it. They were at Cat 3 with this first advisories for Ida. They were at Cat 3 intensity south of Louisiana. So they were explicitly forecasting rapid intensification. And they left it open. The discussion is like, yeah, this could get close to a 4 or 5. This is great. God tier. I mean, hey, we are so lucky in this country, and that's $3, and this is not shilling. This is not shilling for the government or anything like that. Literally $3 a year, I think, if that, of your tax dollars go to the National Weather Service for every citizen. So I think it's like $2 or $3 a year.
And while there is a private weather sector that is out there, so much of the weather data we consume at home, whether it be on the apps that come pre-installed on your phone, whether it's the meteorologist on television, it's coming from the National Weather Service. Mm-hmm. It's the National Weather Service that's issuing warnings. It's the National Weather Service that's installing equipment at airports to take observations. Yes, there are smart meteorologists who are not in the Weather Service who supplement in their particular avenue.
And very important.
Very important. The communication of this is key. But none of it would work if we didn't have the National Weather Service, and they are some unsung heroes.
Yeah, no question about it. And again, kudos to again, we have kudos to the forecasters of the Weather Prediction Center who called this out for what it was. The high risk swath that they issued was massive. I have never seen that big of a high risk. Let me see if I can't pull that up actually. So we'll look at that real quick. And again, this is going to continue tonight. So again, if you have friends or family in the Northeast, I'm sure that they're going to be seeing this throughout the day. The high risk of flash flooding continues. Let me just zoom in on that, and I'll take my screen full real quick. And then we're going to talk a little tropics. But I wanted to show everybody the day one outlook here from the Weather Prediction Center. Wrong button. And again, you can see I'll kind of, I mean, that's not normal. That's just not normal at all. Let me see if I can't. I guess I've forgotten how to use a Mac. Anyway, it's fine. But I mean, that's, there's your major flash flood risk in some extremely populated areas stretching up, and the moderate risk. I mean, again, this whole area, I mean, that's Boston. I mean, you basically the Acela, right? Like the Acela corridor.
Thank you for the train reference.
Yeah. I mean, that basically is it. And so certainly just Ida has been quite a quite different thing.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, Brad Panovich, chief meteorologist at WCNC yesterday, saying Pennsylvania is in for a 100-year flood event. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's verified.
We'll see how it turns out, but I mean, I can pull some data to figure that out, and I'm sure that's going to be something they're going to do. So, for those of you who are watching us in the Carolinas, real quick, if there's one sliver of good news, is that Ida's circulation is going to push down some actually really nice air.
Oh yeah, dew points are. I'm missing out on these very comfortable dew points.
Yeah, the dew points are going to be really nice over the next couple of days, especially in North Carolina and into northern South Carolina. This is going to filter into the Charleston metro too, and filter down. But the front is going to stall out over Georgia, and it's going to take a couple rounds of dry air to really get the rest of the Carolinas. But it's going to feel nice. It's going to feel a lot nicer tomorrow, and it's going to feel really nice it's going to feel really nice on Friday, and it's a nice way to bring in the holiday weekend. I mean, it is a long holiday weekend coming up, which we happy to give you a journey.
I would have thought Ithaca was in New York. There's an Ithaca in New York.
Who knows? Maybe they came from there. So
Lots of transplants.
So hi to everybody. To everybody watching us tonight. Again, we're glad you joined us for. This is kind of an unorthodox show for us. We don't normally talk New York weather, but again, it's just been a day. That is for sure. So let's talk tropics, and then we'll get out of here. So we're gonna take this full here. So here's the 5-day outlook from the National Hurricane Center. Obviously, we've got Ida, who is still a remnant low, causing problems. We've been talking about Ida all day. Kate was a tropical storm, and just the funniest advisories. Weather Twitter just had a field day with Kate. Tropical depression Kate sinking southward and struggling. I don't know. This is everyone just like, we identify with you. I think in 2021, year 2 of COVID, we really identify with Kate. But Kate is no longer a tropical system. Advisories have been discontinued. That's done. Really, the big one here is Tropical Storm Larry, which is looking very good.
Yes.
It is a legit Cabo Verde hurricane there. And let me see if I can't get a Ghost full disc of that before we get out of here. Just a sec.
Two things I can say while you're pulling that up.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't know if you can put me and Fleetwood on the screen. I wanted to explain to you, Jared, what "it's gorgeous" means. Because there are gorges in Ithaca, New York. And so they say that the town is gorgeous.
Nice.
Okay. And Ithaca is explaining, no, I got my name from Greek mythology. I totally had it before Ithaca, New York.
Nice. That's great. That's great. We're all learning a little something tonight. In case
Yes.
any of you all have to head north.
I don't get a chance as the New Yorker transplant living in Charlotte on the Carolina Weather Group to flex my New York knowledge. So I'm doing it now. While you're pulling up the scan for Larry, do you have it? Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
Give the serious Larry business, and then I have a happy note we'll end on. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Larry here is, that's a pretty good looking storm. It is forecast to become a major hurricane, and right now, it's so far out there. The good news is that we're not, not right away. It's not a major issue for anybody in the U.S. It's not an imminent threat by any stretch of the imagination. Let me get the cone out for you, and I will once again share this. Let me pull that. It's almost like I do this every once in a while.
It's almost like we're live.
Yeah, it's almost like we're live or something. Take that full. So there's Larry's track here, and again the CVT. I know my time zones, but clearly not.
I didn't even know what you were referencing when you said that. So
yeah, it sounds like a motor or something like that.
I do know what the M stands for, though. The M stands for major, Cat 3 or higher.
It is a major hurricane, and again, looking at the Hurricane Center track right now, again, it's a 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm right on the cusp of hurricane strength. Probably won't be much longer before they sign off on giving it that 5-mile-an-hour bump to make it a hurricane. Moving west at 22, and again, as you can see here on the graphic, it is forecast to turn generally west northwest. We'll see what happens with this. The odds for a storm in this part of the area, in this part of the world, typically is a recurve, but we cannot take that for granted. Florence showed us that, and so we do have some ridging here, and we're starting to get into that part of the season where we start getting some cold fronts coming across, and the age-old question in September is, will it meet up with the trough of the cold front and shoo it away from the U.S.? Certainly, if you have plans in Bermuda, I'd be keeping an eye on this. This is, again, depending on how far.
Any plans in Bermuda, but that does sound nice.
It does sound nice, but
especially since I'm actually still now wearing wet clothes.
Exactly. So this is something that we're going to want to keep an eye on over the next few days. But right now, it is nothing of imminent concern. And I think the other area, James, that of interest, there is also the potential for additional development in the Bay of Campeche. Once again, near there. We'll see what happens. This is where Ida originated. However, it does not look as favorable as it did before.
I also want to tell people, as we come into September, it's September 1st now. September 10th is the bell curve historical peak of tropical season.
Yep. We are in it.
Yeah.
We are in it to win it. So, James,
can I leave us on a positive note?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry for the name association. I had no control over that. But I would like to wish our friend Larry Sprinkle at WCNC happy 23rd anniversary of waking up every morning to his viewers in the Charlotte area. If you live in Charlotte, you know Larry Sprinkle. And 23 years at WCNC. And we're live, so I can't say it's in the text or the descriptions right now. But if you listen to us later, we'll put it in the text and the description. You know, we've had Larry on this show a couple times, Jared, and he'll tell you the stories from Hugo and other major Carolina storms. The man is a living history of Carolina weather.
And he's got a great name for it.
Yeah, that's his real name, by the way.
For some people, finding your calling takes a while. For Larry Sprinkle, it was obvious. So congratulations to Larry. 23 years. That's awesome. You know, and there's something wonderful in it just knowing what the news business is like and everything there, of having somebody be there for so long and, you know, somebody that you really get to know.
The viewers know him. Larry's seen the station change ownerships, change locations. Don't get him started on changing of branding. It's a whole long thing. So yeah, Larry has withstood all of it.
Yep, absolutely. We have an anchor legend in Charleston retiring in October. Bill Sharp, 48 years at Live 5 News. He has seen it all. He literally has seen it all. Not a meteorologist, but a beloved anchor in Charleston, South Carolina. And that is truly the end of an era for television news in our neck of the woods. So, you know, so that is having those trusted longtime names is that's an asset that you don't realize you have until you have it. So cool. Well, listen, everybody, again, you know, the good news is for the Carolinas is we got a really nice weekend of weather coming up. We're going to be getting into some drier air. It's not going to feel as humid. So let's take some solace in that. Ida is going to be out of pretty much all of our hair tomorrow. And that is a wonderful thing. I think I'm pretty sure that we will never have another Ida. That will be up to the WMO to decide that, the World Meteorological Organization, when they meet, but it's almost certain that will be retired. And again, you know, you keep the people in the New Orleans metro area and Southeast Louisiana in your thoughts. They've got a long road to go. And there's some there's some heroic efforts going on down there right now, but it's going to take time. And, so we want to make sure that, that they are, that you're thinking of them, and, we'll share out some ways to help as well on our social channels.
Will Silvers.
Eric Thomas is retiring soon. Yeah.
At WBTV.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be interviewing him coming up. A little retirement exit interview that Scotty Powell will be conducting. And so we will have that for you coming up in due time on the Carolina Weather Group. So if you needed a reason to like and subscribe, there it is.
There it is.
I'm going to go put some dry clothes on.
Yep. You go do that, James. And again, for James Brierton, I'm Jared Smith. Thank you all for watching the Carolina Weather Group live here on a Wednesday night as we track the remnants of Ida. And enjoy the long Labor Day weekend, and we'll see you next week.